Hey parents and athletes, Michelle from Athlete Prospect Buzz, and tonight what I wanted to do was I had to jump on here. I had something else planned, but I had to just move forward with some of these questions that I've gotten from parents. Thank you for submitting them, and I want to let you know how important I think some of these, and they're timely, so that's why I'm addressing them tonight. They cover things like they're covering camp situations. They're covering talking to coaches, and also it talks about social media. So I'm going to touch on these a little bit. However, a lot of these subjects will be covered in my training platform, Athlete Prospect Buzz training. So, but I am going to touch on them and kind of address it and just understand that there's so much involved that you can learn just from social media, and but I want to address these immediately. Okay, so the first question that I have tonight is social media the only way to get your highlights out to coaches, or are camps and showcases a necessity to do the same? So the first part of this question, is social media the only way to get your highlights out to coaches? No. However, you know, some of these recruiting services will sell emails as part of their package. Typically, guys, I'm not saying all coaches do this, but most coaches don't answer their emails. And they're not the ones responding. It's the recruiting coordinators. It's their graduate assistants. It's people like that are responding. Now, do they communicate with maybe some of their top prospects? Yeah, but if they don't know who you are, you're going to be lucky if you get an email response. So social media, to answer your question, social media is the Twitter. Twitter is where people are truly, and the coaches are seeing the huddles, the highlights, seeing news about they look at that stuff. Coaches do look at that stuff. And again, but sometimes it's the recruiting coordinators or their grad assistants or whomever they've got. A lot of times they're responding, but the key is they're responding and they know who you are. So, they do that because these guys are busy. They don't have time to be sitting on their phone at practice responding, I do know some coaches, though, that will, like at nighttime when they're settled down or have time in between practices or meetings, they will respond. So don't think that all the time it's their recruiting coordinators or the grad assistants. So yes, social media is very, very, very important. And when I say social media, I'm saying specifically Twitter. Now, you will get followed. If you're a prospect that's on their radar, you're going to get followed. They're going to be keeping an eye on what you're doing. And so, yeah, parents, if you don't mind your kid getting set up with a Twitter account, do it just specifically for recruiting purposes, and monitor it. I monitored my son's stuff the whole time up until he was, I think a junior or senior. After that, he knew what he was doing, and I didn't have to worry about it, and I trusted him. The second part to that question is, are camps and showcases a necessity to do the same? So in other words, getting the highlights, getting in front of it. Okay, I've mentioned this before. Camps are, for me, one-day college camps are important. My son received several offers by going to camps and getting in front of them. Let's say you're in a situation where your film maybe doesn't show as well, but you're a good camp kid. You know how to ball out. You're good at one-on-ones, et cetera, things like that. They're going to see how fluid you are. They're going to see, how strong you are, how quick you are, fast, physical, all of those kind of things that they can see up close in front. Now, these showcases, these third-party satellite showcases, I personally don't agree with them. It depends on who's holding it. My son's school held one. It was straight up legit. They had college coaches there. This is before the NCAA came down and said, no, you can't do that anymore. But at the time, it had college coaches there. It was legit. Now, when you, I have seen some where they're like, yeah, 15 schools will be here or whatever. And, I've stayed away from satellite camps. That's my personal opinion. It just depends on who's holding it, because I'm not trying to knock anybody's game or hustle. I'm just going to be very transparent in what my opinion is with it when it comes to those satellite camps. If a college is holding where they're going to say, hey, we have multiple coaches coming. That is true. A lot of times coaches will have schools from other, like, let's say it's a Division I school. They'll have Division I AA coaches coming, or coaches that are outside of their conference. They'll be there. I've seen them there. And I've seen kids get picked up, offers from doing that. So, I would definitely say the one-day college camps are essential. Even the type of school that my son came from, we still went to camps, one-day camps. I mean, it was just, again, I'm taking the power in my hands. I'm not allowing anybody else to solely do something for my son. Even though we had an outstanding football recruiting program, I still wanted to have control, and my son that have control of the destiny of who saw him, when they saw him, and if they didn't manage to see him when he was at the school, then we're going to go so you can see him, because maybe it was a school that he was interested in. It's up to you, if that's what's important to you. Let's see what else we got here. Let's stay in the camp. So what steps should you take before showing up at a college camp? Now, this came from a parent that has a rising senior. So at this point right now, the steps that you need to be taken prior, it's like you're on acceleration mode right now. It's going to be difficult unless you have somebody that if they don't even know who you are. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things, you have to have somebody that, knows the coach. And I mean, I'm just being transparent again, because, for you to go fill out a questionnaire and do all this kind of stuff prior, and then let's say the coach doesn't follow you on Twitter. I mean, my first suggestion would be like, okay, try to go follow the coach. And if he follows you back, a lot of times they're not, his camp season, they're not going to follow you back. So that's why it's so important. And to my next question, the next question is 10th grade too soon to start the recruiting process? No, it is not. I preach the fact my son went as early as 9th grade. We went to a D1 camp and, filled out online recruiting questionnaires, reached out through social media, just got extremely proactive and got up there and was just trying to get in front of the coaches. There was no expectation that he would have an offer whatsoever. And I set his expectations up, very clear before we left. I said, this is what you need to do. You need to get out there. You need to be a lockdown corner, lockdown DB. You got to be shutting down those receivers. You got that. That's what they want to see at those one-on-one. Those one-on-ones is crucial. You do fundies, you do the quick, they do this whole, hit interval, the high interval training to get you, tired and stuff like that, to see how your endurance is after, by the time you get ready to do one-on-ones. So the one-on-ones, those is what they want. So I was like, hey, this is what, this is the plan. If your kids go in there and you go in there with, I'm not getting an offer, but this is what I am trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish, then if you come out with an offer with that hustle, then, hit the cherry on top, So to answer the question, no, honestly, 10th grade is not. Now, what I will say is this. A lot of times coaches want to see varsity film, right? So just, if you don't have varsity film yet, it's still get up there, get on their radar, show the coach what you're doing, what you can do and what you're capable of, and then ask them for feedback after the camp. Say, Coach, can you tell me what you saw and what any suggestions you have? Introduce yourself. This is so important to introduce yourself to these coaches afterwards. Good practice and remaining out. Now, again, when you go sign up for a camp, you're on their radar. So I just feel like out of sight, out of mind. If you're not showing up and getting in front of these coaches, they're not going to continue to know who you are. And I know that some high school coaches have reservations, like, for kids going to camps because they're going to get hurt, or because, we're not funding your, I heard from a coach one time, he said, I'm not going to be funding your boat payment. I thought it was a little extra, but I get what he was trying to say. But he, I think he was probably referencing some of those satellite camps, et cetera. I'm not sure, but some people are against it. As long as it's not interfering with your practice, you're not missing it. That's one thing. Like, I don't condone that at all. You got to be with the team. All right. The team comes first. All right. So the next thing is, okay. And so again, this touches on my belief and my opinion on college camps. Are college summer football camps really vital to get your child enrolled in to be seen by college coaches? I mean, every time I talk to a coach, they're like, my son, I'll just tell you guys, and I have to use my examples. My son was committed to the college that he was at. He was committed. He didn't have to go out there and do the camp. He did the camp. It was, they had at the school at UNC, and it was like but it gave the position coach and the head coach an opportunity to be able to see things that they didn't see on his film. So it's just like, what's it going to hurt? I just think it can only add value, especially if, you're prepared for it. Now, if you haven't been working out, you haven't been training, you haven't been sitting up playing, PS4 or Xbox or Fortnite or whatever, then I wouldn't suggest you go to a camp. No, you need to be in shape and be prepared. But that's all about working out, the work ethic 365, so. The next question is, so this one is about, all right, these are a little bit off topic, but I'm going to go ahead and cover them because you submitted them. Thank you. Should I or my child or both have the talk with the coach about his goal to play college football? 9th grader. Okay. So by the time they are in 9th grade, you need to, and I'm not telling you as a parent what to do, but I do know how these coaches feel. Even the high school level, I talk to them all the time. It's time to let go, cut the umbilical cord, and let your son speak for himself. He is going to be, it's just, at this point right now, I would not suggest you going in unless there's a problem or there's something that, your son's being hurt or he's injured and nobody's bringing it to the attention of the coach. I wouldn't suggest going in and having to sit down with the coach and all this kind of stuff. Unless you have that type of relationship with this coach, I personally I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have a sit down. Your son needs to learn how to speak up for himself. Again, I guess it just depends on the type of communication that you have with them. The other one is how do you find a high school with a reputation for getting lots of good offers? So in this, I know specifically who this is because I had a previous phone call with this parent, and the issue is that this school is being shut. Their program is being shut down. So she's trying to find a good high school program to be with. This is one of my training modules that talks about this, along with with reclass. So make sure you guys sign up for my July 19th masterclass so we can get the ball rolling. I won't cover that, but we do talk about some other things, and then this will be an introduction to the training modules. Her situation is so different but it kind of relates to the fact that if If you are transferring to a different school, and it happens a lot here in Georgia, very frequent, and I believe I've heard and read that it happens a lot in the South region. If you are looking to transfer to another school, the first thing that I would do is my homework. I get online, I start looking for rankings, for academics, for athletics, word of mouth. Start asking people around. If you, and in this particular situation, her son has already been to camps, okay, and had communications with a college coach, and he's on their radar. So she asked the college coach, and he said, oh yeah, we're thinking about this school. Oh yeah, that's a good school. I mean, you got to be a sponge, and that's the whole thing why I think this whole program is of value, is if you are a sponge and you listen to what I'm trying to tell you and teach you based off of my experiences and conversations and research and all this kind of stuff. If you listen to me and absorb it and take action, it's a win-win situation. And you will, no guarantees. I'm not making guarantees about getting an offer, but if you follow these things and move along with what's worked in the past, you'll be fine. So when trying to find a good program, you know, look at previous championships. How many champions have they had? Have they had stable coaching? Is the coaching staff? Have they had a good athletic director? How are the academics? Obviously, that's very, very important. What's the depth chart look like for your, for your kid's position? I mean, these are all realistic things that people look at before they transfer into a program. Because if you get transferred over there, and then when are you doing it? Like, don't try to transfer over to a school. I'm not saying don't do this, but it's just, I've seen too many times setup and failures where a kid is transferred going into their senior year. Now, everybody has their circumstances. You might have to move. You might have to, for whatever reason. But if you're doing it just because you don't like where you're at, just be leery of that and make sure you think long and hard, because I know I've seen too many parents just pissed off, because their kid, it didn't work out. So, I mean, I don't know. We did it. We moved, we transferred, but we did it when Bryson was a freshman. So if you're going to do it when, early as possible, because then you got to learn their defense, or you got to learn their offense scheme, all of that. And that takes time. So, Okay. Well, thanks guys for joining me. Don't forget July 19th, go down, look in the description, and I have a link there where you can sign up. All you have to do is submit a question, a great question like these people did. Awesome questions. Thank you so much. This is great stuff. And I felt it was important to get it out immediately because these were timely questions. So just submit it, click on the link, submit your question, ask me your question, and you'll automatically be signed up for my July 19th masterclass. And we're going to cover some good stuff in there, and it's free. All right, guys, have a good night, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.